we had a fundraiser for this group that I participate with, and
Yeah.
I was had a plan for earning some big money, and for this recovery place, and I ended up ended up being kind of a bidding war. And I've always thought myself pretty good at math, and I found I lost track of how much was in one pot as opposed to how much was in the other pot, and that bothered me a lot, because I thought my mind used to work more quickly than that. I could add.
How often are you doing that type of thing now?
Very infrequently.
So if you use it, it's use it or lose it type of thing.
Okay.
It's not necessarily that you're losing it. I mean, there are some times where there's changes of the brain that take place over time, and that could be one of the things with it. But if you're not doing that type of work, then when you go to just jump into it, your brain can be a little rusty. So I'd be more concerned if there was a pattern, like if you started jumping back in, or if you, like said, been doing these things every day,
right?
And now all of a sudden, that's not working like it used to.
Okay, but might I add the checkbook balancing is getting a little fuzzy too, but.
Okay.
And it's scary because I recall my mother at one point said to me, would you please take control? She gave me control of her checkbook because she couldn't.
So tell me what's happening with the checkbook. You're finding that you're wrong at times when you're balancing it?
Well, I find that I have to go to my calculator more often than I would like. I can't do sums in my head like I used to.
Okay.
And I mean, I could just, now I'm doing the calculator.
Okay.
Is that weird? Does that signal I'm really aging, or is that just a product of aging, or?
It could be in the mix in there. There's kind of stages or progressions of what's called cognitive impairment. One of the early signs is trouble with calculating, doing things like you used to do before. But also, there's ways of assessing that, but there's also the part of, how often are you doing that now? Just kind of figuring those parts into play. And, sometimes when there's a calculator sitting right there, it's like, oh, it's a little challenging, so I'm going to use the calculator, whereas before, you might have just been, okay, well, I'm going to figure it out, and you push your brain a little bit.
Right.
So, you might try that just on your part, to just tuck the calculator away and use it if you have to, but otherwise look for opportunities where you can challenge your brain.
Okay.
So, so if there's, I don't remember if I think you sing?
I sing, yes.
Yeah, so it could be a new song, it could be recalling an old song. If you're thinking about something, I don't quite remember that song, and you push your brain, let me see if I can remember it, And, it's learning a new instrument, it's trying things new, it's keeping that challenge going. And it's a really difficult thing, especially with the cell phones and other things, and that are all make it so easy to where our brain doesn't have to work as much.
Right.
Our brain is supposed to work, and it needs to work. It doesn't need to stare at a screen, and so.
Okay.
So that would be my kind of prompt or challenge to you, is just keep that as part of your lifestyle or habit, is look for ways to take care of your brain, look for ways to challenge your brain. Could be, sometimes it's funny, but something we learned recently was simple habits. If you always use your right hand, use your left hand for drinking that morning cup of coffee. If you put your right leg first in your pants, put your left leg in first.
Okay.
So, and it sounds funny, but if you do it, you'll go, oh.
Okay.
It's a little wake up for the brain. And so just looking for those opportunities. If you have stairs and you always, you don't even think about it, you always start with your right foot. Well, start with your left. If you're doing some dancing, what would this look like if I did this step instead of that step?
Gotcha.
So,
okay.
Just little ways to challenge yourself.
Will do. So I think I have a good brain.
I haven't seen you do calculations, but everything I've seen so far, I would agree.
Okay.
You know, as age, there are specific tests to be able to kind of put a gauge on that. And at some point, if you want to, we can certainly do something like that. So.
Okay. All right.
But if that's a concern for you. The testing will generally tell you, say, hey, you know what, there are some things to be concerned about, or hey, these are just kind of where you're at, kind of fairly normal for your age, or it might be, hey, you know what, things are pretty dang good. You just have little things that you've kind of slacked off on, you need to brush up.
Okay.
So, and that's what right now, that's what it sounds like mostly to me.
Okay.
So does that sound consistent for you with some things lifestyle-wise and habit-wise that you might be?
Yes, and
I don't mean to call you slacker, but are you slacking off a little bit?
Well, you know, I just notice, and there's the whole, as we've discussed, there's this whole, it ties into the whole thing of, am I doing enough? Am I not so much good enough, but all that kind of area that we've discussed with, I never quite do it quite right. I'm always just a little bit under where I want to be, that sort of compulsion that I have. So it feeds into that as a possible evidence that is true, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, from what you've told me about your routine, I think you're on a pretty good track.
Okay.
But I'll say there's times in, you know, even when people are on a good track diet-wise and other things are, you know, there's times where we're going this direction, things look really good, like, you know, things are really good, but there's, you know, we need to just shift a couple of degrees over here to target these areas, you know.
Okay.
So, but again, just go